Don't get me started. I'm so mad about this. If you can hear or see me right now, you better go watch Dune Part 1 and Part 2 right now.
It's so good.
Do you know
So
how much
good.
I have yelled about this exact same thing?
Yes.
I think we are the same person because
Hold my
there's
hand.
just no way.
Oh. Hey, I'm Sam Sanders. Thank you so much for checking out my show this week. If you're a listener or a watcher, you know I'm obsessed with the Oscars, and by that I mean I hate them. But I was watching the Oscars a few weeks ago, and I noticed the only people in the room that I cared about were 40 or older. A lot of the younger stars, the newer stars, I didn't know who they were, and even if I did, Timothée Chalamet, I didn't care. It's got me thinking about a bigger question that I ask all the time and debate all the time with my friends, and that is, do movie stars even exist anymore? Have we left the era of Julia Roberts and Denzel Washington and Tom Cruise? And will we ever have actors who operate on that high level ever again? I could talk about this thing for hours, if not days. But this episode, we're going to do one whole hour on this topic with two folks who think about movies and talk about movies a lot. Honored to have you both here. Tell folks who you are.
I am Paul Scheer. I co-host this podcast with Amy called Unspooled. I'm an actor, a comedian, a writer, a director.
And dare I say a movie star?
Dare I say, yeah. By the way, I was in summer's biggest movie last year, Twisters.
Okay.
This is something that I'm very passionate about, conversation that I also try to engage in, because what are movies now even?
Come on.
There it
Yes,
is.
yes.
What are movies? Wow, we're getting philosophical.
Yeah,
at
I
the
mean,
beginning.
yeah.
Hi, I'm Amy Nicholson. I'm the film critic for the LA Times. I also co-host Unspooled with Paul. And I think about this question all the time,
Yeah.
because I want to find the movie stars.
Right.
I want to create them, build them
Right.
up. I got my favorite actors, but they're not movie stars.
Right, exactly. So two-part question. Before we say whether or not movie stars no longer exist, how would the two of you define movie star?
I would define a movie star as someone whose A, face everybody knows,
Yeah.
and B, face everybody wants to see. When they're in a
Whoa.
movie, you know about it, and you want to go,
Julia
you're
Roberts.
at least aware of it.
Julia
You're like,
Roberts.
I should go see the new X. You refer to the movie as the new Julia Roberts.
Exactly. Okay.
I agree. I think that, like, when you think about movie stars, it's not about what movie they're in. It's just, I want to go see it. It's sort of
Exactly.
like the reverse of Law and Order. Like, I don't care which episode this is. I'm just going to watch it, right? Like, I'm there. I'm there to watch.
Yeah.
So I do think, like, I often think about Denzel Washington, because I feel like Denzel Washington and Tom Cruise ultimately are the two guys that are just making movies. They still seem to open things.
Oh, yeah.
Julia Roberts.
Equalizer 17 or whatever he's
I mean,
doing.
right? They're still
Yeah.
out there. And it's
Yeah.
like Julia Roberts, like, she takes a break, but then she comes back, and then they're kind of segueing more into TV.
Yeah.
What I thought was really interesting is there's a movie that just came out that I felt like got no attention, and it had two movie stars in it.
What's it called?
It's called You're Cordially Invited.
Who
and
is
it was
that?
Reese Witherspoon and Will Ferrell. Comedy movie
Oh, where
that
was
came
it?
out on Amazon Prime.
Well, that's why.
Right? But I mean, and this just came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And no, I didn't see.
No one talked about it.
But what I think is interesting is we have Seth Rogen, who is making this brand new show for Apple called The Studio, all about Hollywood studios trying to be relevant. And he made a good point. He's like, these people who run studios, they care about movies. They want to make good movies, but they're also worried about being fired. And there's this energy right now of what's safe, what can we make, how do we do this in the right way? And I saw this stat the other day that in the 70s and 80s, when movie stars were big, the executives were in their 30s and 40s. Now the big studio
They're in their
executives,
60s.
60s and 70s.
Yeah. And they're more cautious.
Right, and they're just not willing to take these risks. Who's the woman who ran Sony for such a long time? She's
Amy Pascal.
Amy Pascal.
She had those emails, those crazy emails
Yes.
in the
Yes.
leak.
But by the way, when you read her emails, it really is about talent. I want to work with these people. I want to
Exactly.
put her emails weren't shocking. They weren't bad.
No.
They were like, I like these people. People love her. She got people together. And it's like, you know what? I don't believe in this movie, Michael Clayton, that George Clooney wants to do. I don't think it's going to be big, but
I
I'm
like
going to
him.
make it.
Let's do it.
And I feel like that's what we're missing is like the tastemaker.
Yeah.
We have the executive. We don't have the tastemaker.
I think when I define movie star,
Yeah.
it requires an economy that still prioritizes movie going.
Well, 100%.
And so when I was thinking of movie stars in my youth, what a movie star meant for me was that I would take time out of my schedule, I would leave home, and I would pay to see them do a thing. And increasingly, no one does that. And even the movie stars, we kind of demand them to come into our houses. And it makes the experience, dare I say, cheaper and less connective.
Well,
Right.
here's what I'll say. I've had a lot of experience. I tour around the country a bunch. I do
Yeah.
improv. I also have my other podcast, How Did This Get Made? And we go on the road and we play to these big, theaters, like 2,000 people or whatever it is. And when we're doing those shows, I feel like that has become more of the movie star energy. I'm
Yes.
leaving my house. I have to
Yes.
go see this live event, see the thing. Because to your point, a movie star could only be seen in the
Yeah.
movies. Now we on a Friday night
everywhere.
you could just pop on Apple TV and
Exactly.
you can and then you can see them on the internet, or you can
Yeah.
not on the internet but on Instagram or whatever. It's like there isn't there they used to be behind like it's like the Mona Lisa. You couldn't get
You had
close
to travel,
enough.
yeah.
Yes.
And there was a certain scarcity that made them even more precious.
Yeah.
So I like all this. Let's get to the central question. Big question, setting it up. Do movie stars still exist?
Well, I think the boomery movie stars still exist in name, right?
Yeah.
Like, because if we're talking about emails and people named Amy, I'll tell you what my email box looks like
Yeah.
as a film critic.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been in this game for a while,
Yeah.
and there used to be a point like 15 years ago when I'd open my email and they'd be like, "Oh, there's a new Bruce Willis action film," right?
Mhm.
And I would say, "Well, that sounds like a big deal.
Yeah.
It's Bruce Willis. He's a movie star. I should cover that."
Yeah.
And in the 15 years since then, there was, and I'm sorry to pick on Bruce because we all know everything that's been
He's
going on
through
with Bruce,
stuff,
but there became a Bruce Willis action film every week, and it
Yeah.
became less important and less
Yeah.
vital. I'll replace him now with Liam Neeson because he's in that
Mhm.
same problem.
Yeah.
These safe-thinking studio executives have just been doing the same movie over and over again and paying these guys $1 million to show up, and now their stardom has waned. They've
Yep.
killed their star energy.
Yeah.
Which is why when we're talking about Mona Lisa's behind glass,
Yeah.
we have Tom Cruise, the one person left who has not done television, and I don't think he would ever post a selfie like on
No,
Instagram or
he's
tell you what he's
got
had
a very
for breakfast.
curated social media presence.
Yeah.
I think that there is this energy of like where we get confused.
Mhm.
Are you a good actor or are you a movie star? Two very different things.
Say more.
Right? Because a good actor, there are plenty of good actors, but movie stars are different. You don't even have to be a great actor to be a movie star. Because in a way,
Yeah.
I always think that a movie star is the same person in every movie. Like and
Denzel Washington. He's
exactly.
always Denzel.
Well, that's and that I always go
He
to
was
that 'cause-
Training Day Denzel in Gladiator 2.
Right,
He was always it's the same Denzel.
You're watching a version of them, and that's why you go to see them. You're going to see, and look, I will say this is no shade on the three people you mentioned: Julia Roberts, Tom Cruise, Denzel Washington. All of them are good actors.
Yeah.
But at the root of it,
They are them.
they are them. We're
Yeah.
going to see them. Yes, and they might do some twist or turn if you flight or Julia Roberts does Aaron Brockovich, but it is, and these are older things, but it's like, yes, but we are seeing them very often. They're full faced. We're not going to see them in crazy makeup. Charlize is somebody who's actually very interesting like that.
She's a
'cause
chameleon.
Charlize can kind of do both.
Yeah.
And I think Brad Pitt is kind of gotten to this part of the career where he's become a character actor, but he's also a movie star, which I think is actually a smart move.
Yeah.
But I believe a movie star we're going to see. We know what it is ultimately.
Do they still exist? Are they being made?
Well, I think they're not being made because you said that we're not prioritizing movies.
Yeah.
So you can have a great movie like Timothée Chalamet should be a movie star, but there was a time when we were prioritizing. It was like Garrett Hedlund's going to be the next big guy, Chris Pratt is going to be the next big guy, and they all kind of are for like two or three. Glenn Powell is the guy right now,
Yeah.
right? I work with Glenn. He's one of the nicest, great guys. He might be the guy that kind of gets his way in there, but you still have to get people to the theater. And
Yeah.
but at the same time, Glenn Powell, what is he doing? A Netflix movie, a giant movie in theaters, and a TV show on Hulu.
Yeah.
So he's hitting it on all
He's doing it.
three sides.
Right,
Then-
but when you're hitting it on all three sides, people don't know necessarily where they're going to go to find you. Like
Well-
if he's hitting it in the blockbusters,
Right.
you want to go see him in the blockbuster. You think of him as a blockbuster guy.
Right.
And I want to root for Glenn Powell very intensely. Like when I went to go see Twister's 40X, 'cause
Yeah,
you got to
of
see it in
course.
40X.
I have to see it in 40X.
When he came out on screen in a wet shirt, my audience burst into applause. And
Yeah.
I thought,
Yeah.
that's a movie star.
Yeah.
Like I
100%.
haven't heard audience reaction like that just to him showing up on screen.
Yeah. But here's the thing about Glenn Powell that makes me not put him in the same category as Denzel or Tom or Julia. I know that Glenn Powell is in movies. I will watch them. I will enjoy them. As soon as the movie is over, I don't think about Glenn Powell again. I don't think about him.
Oh,
Whereas
somewhere Glenn Powell's
with
crying
Julia
one
Roberts,
little tear.
I want to know what she's doing. I want to know who she's dating. I want to know their personal lives. Same with Denzel and Tom. Like there's a certain appeal of a movie star because it's harder to get to them and see them and know them and they don't share everything. I want to know everything and I'm obsessed. Like it requires a certain kind of obsession.
Well, do you think, and this is maybe the boomer part of us, we grew up in a time where there wasn't that much information about these people, right? I was writing fan letters. I was, and I got one back from Steve Martin. It was the coolest thing in the world.
Wow.
But there's not something that I could go online, right? My kids are 8 and 10. I'm watching them, even try to figure out what movies are. What are movies? What are like I showed them Napoleon Dynamite the other day.
Oh.
And I was like,
did they love it?
They loved it.
Good.
They loved it. And
Good.
it's like, but they're not used to even sitting down. Like they for a long time, their movies were like, oh, we go see the Minions, we go see this. And so I'm really trying to like open them up because I do think that movies are like empathy machines. And I think that the bad part of not having movie stars is we start having a worse version of storytelling. And I was talking about this the other day too. Movies bring us together in a communal way, right? We feel like when E.T. dies, I'm using an old example, but when E.T. dies, you're upset. When Glen Powell walks out with the shirt wet, we're applauding, right? We're in a moment, we're feeling something. And I feel like we're trying to change everything. We're like, how do we get back? But like, there are simple stories. We're not telling simple stories anymore. It's like, let's make it super complex. We're almost alienating people from the movies. I think across the board.
I agree. All right, so we all agree that something's changed. We're not making movie stars like we used to. But I kind of want to talk about how it happened and when it happened. Yeah. So I was thinking about this last night. I was like, oh, I can tell you a specific moment in movie history when everything began to change around movie stars. I know exactly when it began. But I'm asking you both first. Was there a specific moment, thing, time when you said, oh, it's changing, it's shifting?
Oh, I mean, I have one that comes to mind.
Say it.
It's 2005 when Tom Cruise was promoting War of the Worlds and he went on Oprah.
And he couch jumped. I asked him to get a couch in here for me that I could jump on because I knew Tom Cruise would come up.
And I will say, I
Yes.
have really intensively dissected this moment on Oprah.
Say more. Also, for the Gen Z, Gen Alpha kids here, Oprah used to have a daytime talk show.
Not just a magazine.
And a show. And everybody watched it. And Tom Cruise came on here at the peak of his career when there were questions about Scientology and who he was dating circling all around. And he jumped enthusiastically on Oprah's couch in a way that even weirded out Oprah.
Now, I will say,
yes,
I have studied this like it is the Zapruder film.
I love it.
He technically stands on the couch and then jumps down. And I find this really fascinating because in the cultural memory, he bounces, right?
I remember
Back
bounce, yes.
Doesn't bounce. He stands up it and he gets down. And I will say that Oprah is to blame for this.
Can you show us?
I could. But I will say Oprah is to blame for this because a couple minutes before he even gets on the couch, she says, I saw you the other day. You were at this fundraiser. You were so excited that you stood up on your chair. She tells him subconsciously to stand on his chair.
Because Oprah is God.
Yeah. But that said, I think this is a really important moment worth parsing because this is Tom Cruise doing what we're just saying movie stars shouldn't do. He is going on a television show and he is getting beamed into people's houses. No, wait, hold on. Let me finish. He's getting beamed into people's houses. He's diminishing himself in size.
He really is.
He is diminishing himself in size. And when he became a joke in that moment, suddenly the spell broke. And I think that was the end of movie stars.
Of an era.
I do think so.
Really?
I heartily disagree with this because
I like this.
I grew up.
He's sitting up. He's ready.
Because I grew up. I love Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy to me was
that's a movie star.
That's a movie star.
That's a movie star.
And he still oddly he has an allure of a movie star, right? And what I lived for was watching Eddie Murphy when he would do a talk show appearance. I would tape those talk show appearances. Like it was the only time you could kind of see Eddie Murphy not in a movie. And I had a whole Arsenio Hall had these people like that I loved.
Greatest late night host ever.
Oh,
Arsenio does it.
Because Arsenio actually is, and I can get into this for days, but Arsenio was the person who was out at clubs. Like he saw
He was
Steven
friends with
Seagal.
them.
Yeah, he was literally friends with them. It wasn't just a thing. He had no note cards. He was just talking.
Vibing.
And it was great. So I disagree with that because I think that, yes, Tom Cruise had his own emulation with firing his PR person, and he got into that fight with Matt Lauer.
That is the smartest word I've heard on this show yet. Emulation. I love it. Keep going.
But this is all I'll say. I don't disagree with you that I think that a stop on Oprah's couch was huge. The cast of Ghostbusters 2 were on Oprah's couch. Chris Farley in the audience watching the cast of Ghostbusters 2. Like, that was a stop. Donahue, you'd have people on the couch. Like,
whoa. I'm not just saying like going on TV is what it immediately diminishes it, but I'm saying the one guy carrying the torch for movie stars.
No, that's so long ago.
I think that's different. I think it's different than the cast of Ghostbusters 2 going on a talk show.
I will say this. I will say that I believe movie stars died, and this is going to be a little bit hard to connect.
Do it.
When you dropped all the episodes on one night in streaming.
In streaming.
TV. Yes, and this is why. Because it started to take away appointment viewing.
Yeah,
right?
The idea that there's a time that you go and do it.
Yes, and I think that that's really like what was
so
so
the
great
on-demand
about,
of it all.
Yes, what was so great about Lost, Breaking Bad.
You're waiting for it.
You were waiting for it. You'd think about it during the week, and that's why people got so upset about Lost. You're like, oh wait, this, because it didn't fulfill whatever you wanted it to fulfill. And now when you talk to people who watch Lost and they binge it all, they don't have those feelings.
Well, and it led to a shift in entertainment where all of a sudden the industry was saying to you, you're in charge now. Whereas my entire youth, the gatekeepers were in charge. On this day, you buy new albums.
Yes.
On this day, you go see movies. This is how you do it.
Yes.
Thursday night, you watch these TV shows. And as soon as Breaking Bad takes off on Netflix, I'm in charge. And not just I'm in charge, I should be able to watch anything at home. F the movies.
And that's what I really believe starts to kill, because what we're talking about is not even movie stars. Like, why are movies dead? Like, they're still making movies, right? And they're making good movies.
I have a food theory.
Oh, okay.
The food is bad.
All right.
Make the food good, they'll go to the movies. It's bad food.
But even now that all these places are serving braised shrimp over rice.
But that's like an elite experience.
Okay.
AMC for the masses. Bad food.
I will tell you this much. I had a pretzel at NAMC and I did not like it at all. So how can you mess this up? Come on. So I know it's a little bit roundabout, but I do believe, and I think you articulated it perfectly, when we became the controllers of our own entertainment, it's like, well, why would I want to...
Why would I leave my house to go see Will Smith save the world?
Yeah, and then you jack up the movie prices. I know, too, like when I bring my family... This is now post-COVID, but when you bring your family to
$200.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the movie's not even good, and you're like, well, what did I do? It's like, I don't want, I'll just wait 2 weeks, and it'll be home.
Exactly. In literally 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
I will tell you when I think the movie star died.
Okay.
I think it was the moment that Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man became a bona fide hit.
Okay.
I think as soon
now
as
you say more.
I think as soon as that happened, we entered an era in which every film executive said, what actually rules Hollywood now is IP and not the actor. And we got to this point where with Marvel films, the Marvel of it is more important than the actor themselves. The IP is more important than the actor themselves. And so they just matter less. And now when we think about movies and the ones that will do the best every year, they play on IP. They all play on IP. Wolverine, Daredevil, whatever the hell that one's called, Barbie, Wicked, IP rules. And I think if we're in an IP moment for film, the stars become increasingly interchangeable.
Well, this is the thing. I think you're right. I definitely think I'm right. And all of this is happening in around the same moment of time. Yeah. And I think it's the confluence, because we've had IP before. I mean, I remember growing up, I think we're all around the same age. It was just like endless iterations of Friday the 13th movies, stuff like that, where it was like Robert Englund wasn't a star. Freddie Krueger was the star, which isn't that different than the Iron Man of it all. Yeah. It's just that happening at the same time as everything's getting expensive, at the same time as YouTube is existing, where it's like me and my videos and my kid biting my finger.
And we haven't even talked about how in the midst of all of this, what's also happening is the rise of social media. And you get to a point with social media where celebrities and movie stars can bypass the celebrity media ecosystem, which changes our relationship to them. And now we have stars in which they tell me their entire life and their entire day without me having to go by Us Weekly. Right. Or watch the tabloids, so they matter less. They matter less.
Well, I also think the one place, and it's not about movie stars, and I don't think it's about IP, but it's about movies that work still to this day are horror films.
Horror always works.
Right,
yeah.
Always works. Now, that's a genre that traditionally isn't really about making stars as much as it is about making a great theater experience.
Yes.
And I think that, to your point, like the Marvel movies and stuff like that kind of are drifting on that same thing. It's like, I don't care what it is. It's going to be a killer with a knife. I'm there to see it. Yeah. I don't care what it is. It's going to be a superhero in costume. I'm there to
and
see
even
it.
now, the Scream franchise doesn't make new stars; it recycles the original stars.
Oh yeah, I mean they're bringing back even the ones that are dead now.
Yes.
You know, somebody said
Or
something
they're making new stars, but we're not paying attention. I mean, Jenna Ortega is huge from the Scream franchise.
I would say from Wednesday.
Yes, from Wednesday, but also she's in the Scream movies, and she
Yes.
is beloved from
But
those.
for me, what would make Jenna Ortega a star is if my Aunt Betty knew who she was, and she doesn't.
See,
Right.
okay, I'm with you
You
on
have
that.
to
I
have
use my
generational
mom
knowledge of these
as
people.
as the barometer of all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well-
something's going on where they're not getting that these
But
days.
yet, we do have, and I think this is important to note, we do have giant stars. Taylor Swift is a giant star,
yeah.
a
Yeah.
generational star,
Yes.
right? And I do think that there are certain people that you will see, but it's all now from different walks of life. I don't want to like put too much I don't want to put too much energy into this, but I would say like Bravo creates people and celebrities. They're a different type of celebrity, but I
Yes.
think that there's an energy around them that you might know a Bravo celebrity more than you might know
It's
somebody who's
true.
been in 4 or 5 movies.
Yeah, and this is the other point that I want to get to is part of why it feels like quote unquote movie stars matter less now, or there are fewer movie stars. Is it just because movies matter less? The data is pretty startling. In the last 2 decades or so, film attendance in America is down by like 30%. And so, to your point, it's not that we don't have stars anymore. It's just that they're coming to us in a venue other than film because people are going to the movies less.
Yeah,
They
or they're
just are.
watching the movie later at home, but it's like
Yeah.
screwing with the metrics because the online
Yeah.
services aren't sharing. I mean, I do think that it's becoming this self-defeating cycle. Like, does anybody ever get confused when every year the Oscars are like, oh no, fewer people are watching on TV. That means nobody cares about movies anymore. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, fewer people are watching on TV because A, it's harder to watch
Yep.
TV networks in general, all the
Yep.
basic channels, and they're just watching the highlights later, and you've made TV more difficult.
And
And
B, it's a
also,
bad show
right, but also, why do we use television ratings, which are going down for
to
everything?
determine if movies are doing well.
Exactly. And I think the same thing is happening with movies and movie attendance. You know, although I will say the barometer that matters to me is that, and I'm sorry to keep leaning on Tom Cruise, but I do think
Lean
he
on
is
Tom
officially,
Cruise.
I think he's officially the last movie star, is he would use his movie stardom in the 80s when stardom was really popular, when stardom really was at the center of things, to get movies like Rain Man to
Yeah.
open at #1 and then stay #1. Rain Man is the #1 year of its box office, #1 film that year in the box
And
office.
Oscar nominated too.
Yeah, which would never happen. That a drama
Yeah.
about two brothers would be
Yeah.
#1 at the box office charts.
Mhm.
But that's what a star could do. It could open a movie.
Yes.
And what I think is happening is that nobody can open a movie anymore because movies aren't opening in the way
Yeah.
that we think they are. And so we're telling ourselves that stars don't exist because the metric of measuring them is broken.
Well,
But
yeah.
I would argue too,
Yeah.
what is everyone obsessed with right now? And I think if you talk to anybody,
Mm-hmm.
generationally, everyone's probably got an opinion about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni.
I
right?
sure do.
Right, 100%.
I
right?
sure do.
And that's because it's been kind of force fed to us. I think that
Right, but
there's-
I'll tell you, I reviewed that movie when it came out.
Yeah.
Bad movie.
Nobody cared about that
Yeah.
movie when it came
Yeah.
out. And I don't know if anybody who cares about this drama has even seen the movie. So
No,
it's
but it's-
fascinating
but
that the
it's a
biggest
story-
story isn't even making people watch the
I
movie.
think that there's a part of it, and I don't know how this all ties together, but there's a part of it where, and this is a bad metaphor, but I'll use it. It's like we had a machine that you created a product. And then we took all those machines and rearranged them, and we're like, well, the product's different.
It's like you
it's
changed
not
it all.
going through the right way.
Yeah.
It's like the reason why Tom Cruise was able to do this is like the MTV Movie Awards, late night talk shows, they all funneled in. Now we're looking at a presidential race where we have 2 of our presidential candidates who appeared on what? Podcasts. It was like, oh yeah, let's see what let's see what happens on like the Unwell podcast. Let's see what goes on the Kill Tony podcast. It's like, and these are our presidential candidates are going on there. Now, in the past, yes, it was like Bill Clinton played the saxophone on Arsenio Hall, right? Candidates went on these things, but we've eaten our own tail,
Yeah.
right? So you can't even build up anything because I think that there's this energy, and I know I feel like this as a creator, is like, well, what do I do? Because it's like I have to, like, if I just say I'm just going to act, well, then no one will see me for a long time, and maybe I won't get that thing. But if I do a podcast, if I am writing on Substack, if I am making a video internet show, if I am, directing over here, like you have to kind of do everything because you don't know who's watching or where they're watching.
Well, what
Exact-
you're
and-
describing is that there's no longer a movie star. It's a movie smudge. You're sort of smearing yourself across all platforms.
Yeah. Well, and talking about these candidates who have, done podcasts to win the White House, Donald Trump, who's now won the White House twice, he came out of not movies but reality TV.
Right.
There was a moment in time where Ronald Reagan went to politics from acting. Now we see Trump go to politics from reality television.
Right.
And so much of the star energy and star making feels like it's moving away from film. Take, for instance, I was comparing Honora to Pretty Woman. You know,
Right.
films that seem to be in some way in conversation. Julia Roberts does Pretty Woman. All of a sudden, she catapults to superstardom. Mikey Madison does Honora. I think it's fair to say she's not going to be a big star. Her career will be
It's
different.
hard to see her catapult in that same way.
Right?
And
Yet
I think
she's making the same kind of, like, it is the same kind of star role for a young actress that could have, 20 years ago, catapulted
yeah,
her.
and this is the
Something's
thing I've been
changed.
like really, really interested in
Yeah.
because a lot of our star-making vehicles, that genre,
Mhm.
was romantic comedy.
And those are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In romantic comedies where you got Meg Ryan, Julia Roberts, this is where people like built up their fame. We killed them.
And they tried to do it with Sydney Sweeney,
Yeah.
England Powell, and that one kind of flopped.
But it worked. No,
Yeah.
that one was
It
giant.
It
That
was a slow.
it was a slow
Slow
build
down.
Yeah.
because I think people
But we don't
wanna
have
see-
the patience for that. We think that it doesn't count.
But I think also what I remember and what I loved about going to the movies was August. Because August was a great time where they would kind of put these movies that wouldn't always work. Like if you put like a movie like Superbad, it came out in the middle of August,
Yeah.
and then it grew.
Such a good movie.
Such a good movie, and then it grew to #1, right?
Yeah.
We now are on the other system, which is like if you don't open as #1, you're just
Yep.
going to go down. We don't have the word of mouth that puts it up because in 2 weeks it's going to be out on
Exactly.
DVD. And it's
Yeah.
like Tom Cruise, for as much as he might have killed the movie star, he's also single-handedly the only one bringing it back with the holding back Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
Like that brought people to the
Oh, yeah.
theater, and it brought everyone to the theater.
Yeah. Well, and then I will see studios in the industry try to point towards new movie star making and new metrics to support the claim that there are still mega stars. I remember last year when Challengers came out, everyone's like, oh my God, look at Zendaya opening a #1 film. It made $15 million in a week. $15 million. That is fine. It's not great.
Well, that's what Robert Pattinson just did with Mickey 17, right?
Yeah.
It just made that. I wonder if this is what I was inarticulately trying to say. Are we subverting the formula so much that we're not making good enough product, right? Because there is a simplicity to all these rom-coms. They were fun. There's
yeah.
a simplicity to seeing Denzel Washington, Julia Roberts. We know we're going to see like
You get a happy ending.
you're going to get exactly. And-
Honora didn't give you that.
no, it gave you a somewhat a happy ending, but like there's this idea of we're trying so hard to be edgy, and our movie stars don't want to be in popcorn movies, or
Exactly.
it doesn't feel like they want to. And it's like, and I think we're making these art films. It's like, yes, Robert Pattinson's in this movie. It's not a movie that you're like, oh, you have 100%. I want to see it. Dune is not like, yes, it's
Dune is great, though.
Dune's great.
God, Dune is great.
Dune is great, but
Thank you.
It's so the
I love
fact
the
that
first
Dune
Dune.
didn't get more Oscars, the fact that we're not saying that the best performances of their last year, Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet, were better in Dune than in the other films that we talked more
Yeah.
about. Don't get me started. I'm so mad about this. If you can hear or see me right now, you better go watch Dune Part 1 and Part 2 right now.
it's so good.
Do you know
So
how much I
good.
have yelled about this exact same thing? I think we are
Yes.
the same person
We are-
because
hold my
there's
hand.
just no
Oh,
way.
God.
I'm sorry, his Bob Dylan was fine.
That movie was
Fine.
mid.
But his Paul Atreides.
But by the
Come
way,
on. Yes.
but to me, James Mangold is somebody who's making, like, he is making the movie star movie.
Yes.
James Mangold makes dad movies, right? They
Yeah.
say it like that. Who do they come? People come out.
Exactly.
They can say Ferrari versus whatever.
Yes.
Like he's still making the
Totally.
movies that we want.
Yeah.
But
I
wait.
want to. Oh, go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead.
but I want to flip something because, like, what you're talking about, like, the arc of movie stardom, the arc of, like, indie movies kind of bleeding into this. I want to jump to the 90s because I think that
Yes.
is when movie stars were really at their peak and everybody was complaining, like, oh no, Demi Moore is making $20 million a film.
And she
Bruce
should have.
Willis is
She
making
was
$30
damn good in
million.
those
She
movies.
was earning it.
She was even good in
earning it.
G.I. Jane.
Yeah, but there's a sense that we had given movie stars too much power, too much money, right? There was this sense of pushback
Yes.
against it. But here's what the movie landscape looked like in the 90s. Studios made big movies starring big movie stars.
Mhm.
Indie movies built up new movie stars from the Sundance world, right?
Yeah.
This is what happened.
Mhm.
Now that is reversed. Studios are
Ah.
making horror movies with people don't know.
Yep.
And the indie movies are forced to have movie stars in them in order to
get
get any
attention.
funding.
Yep.
So now we've had this backwards thing where the stars are all in the small movies and the nobodies are in the big
Or
movies.
the stars are on TV.
Well,
Exactly.
because the
Meryl
money is
Streep
better.
make
This
another
is what's
movie
happened.
challenge. Stop
Yeah.
the TV
Right.
shows, girl.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're having that thing that Maya Hawke was talking about this recently as well. Well, what's your Instagram following? So
Yeah.
the thing that we're saying behind glass, right? Or that I was saying, like, this idea that the movie stars behind glass, you can't afford to be behind glass anymore because you do have to have a certain amount of followers to get the movies that you want to do
Exactly.
made. Tom Cruise didn't have to do that. He had box office to prove it.
Yes.
But now the biggest box office, it is 15 million, 18 million.
Exactly.
You don't have that much play to be like, because the
Yeah.
PA is going to be 30 million
Well,
at least.
and in this new stratified world of celebrity where you got to do everything everywhere all at once, you see actors no longer want to follow a Tom Cruise model. Tom Cruise became Tom Cruise and then was just Tom Cruise for decades, making those movies. Now, you get big enough as an actor, as a movie star, what do you want to do? Make tequila.
Right.
Uh-huh.
You want to be an influencer?
Well,
What's your
because-
fashion line?
This
You
is
want to
why-
do other stuff.
But
This
the
is why I
money's not
take
there.
points off of George Clooney, et cetera, because
Yeah.
they use their stardom to sell
do other
things.
things. Yeah.
Well, but hold
Tom
on.
Cruise doesn't have a
here-
tequila?
But here's the other
Exactly.
thing. The tequila,
although I would drink it.
Yeah.
I would drink Tom
Oh,
Cruise
yeah.
tequila.
Oh,
Yeah.
And just call it Tom Cruise
I
tequila.
would take Tom
I mean,
Cruise
I'm in.
vitamins, whatever his
By the way,
vitamins are.
But that's what we did with George Clooney. That tequila, like that Casamigos,
It's big.
It's giant, and it's even more giant because he essentially just serves it at every Hollywood event. Like if you go
Yep.
to any Hollywood event, it's always
Casamigos.
Casamigos, and that's like. But I don't begrudge him that because what's happened is we've cut off the revenue stream. You know, I've been lucky to be on multiple television shows, and one of the best things about being on TV is residuals.
You get
Right?
points as long as that thing is in
Every rerun, you'd almost get paid the
Syndication.
same amount of
Yeah.
money on the second play.
but
of it.
Netflix killed that.
Netflix killed it. And I was recently on a show on Paramount Plus, and it's one of those the top 5 shows that have benefited from the SAG contract. And I was like, "Oh my god!" For the first time, and it feels like 10 years, I'm seeing residuals.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that blew my mind. But it's like, yes, if you're not making residuals, if you can't make your money, like
You're gonna sell
don't make your
tequila.
tequila.
Yeah.
Go sell your Instagram ad. Go put your whatever, because it's like you're cutting off. And this is the problem that I think we're having right now across the board. No one can figure out how to make money, so we have to then
Do
open up all
everything.
these things, right?
Yes.
Everyone's got a Patreon. Everyone's asking for money.
Yeah.
I'm following so many Substacks. I'm like, I'm paying more money in Substacks than I am in
It's a lot.
streamers.
It's a
and
lot.
it's like, and every
Yeah.
time I want to get a movie, it's not on any of the streamers, and I have them all.
Exactly.
How do I get this movie?
You know, I hear us circling a thing that we have to talk about in this conversation, or otherwise it's incomplete. We all have kind of agreed the moment this begins to shift, the moment when movie stardom as we know it begins to shift and or end is around the mid to late 2000s. What also happened there that was a big deal that changed the entire world? The smartphone. How much of this is just smartphone? How much of this is just when we were kids, you had 2 screens in your life.
Right.
The TV screen and the film screen. And as soon as the smartphone has internet and is fast enough to do fun things, you have a permanent screen in front of you all the time. That inherently changes the value of movies and the value of movie stars.
And let me tag on to that and say,
Yeah.
it's not only a screen in front of you, it's a screen that you control the content of.
On demand.
Right, because it's like I was home to watch those shows on
Oh, yeah.
Thursday. I was there to like stay up late and watch that Arsenio Hall show.
Yeah.
I was there to do all this stuff. This now, I was reading this book about Lorne Michaels. It's a great book. It's and they're talking about how no one watches SNL when it airs anymore.
Oh,
They
yeah, I watch it on
later.
Sunday.
Right, and it's like, and that is, I did the show. My first show I ever had in my career was a show called Best Week Ever,
Yeah.
and
I
on
used to
VH1.
love Best Week
It
Ever.
was such
Oh, my God.
It was such a fun show.
Yes.
And what we were, I always consider ourselves a hangover show. Because we had the kids who were coming home who were in high school. They would watch it at 11 o'clock on Fridays, and then it would replay it throughout the whole weekend. People were like, oh, I'm getting up a little bit later on Saturday, Sunday, whatever, and you'd watch it, and you'd be kind of like forced to. But now I can watch the phone. And if you're not knowing what to search for,
Yeah.
you won't stumble on it.
Well, and it's not just that my phone is like giving me a selection of TV and movies. All the TV and movies are competing with the random ASMR carpet cleaning TikToks that I will watch for hours.
Oh, yeah.
I watch power cleaning of rugs more than I watch TV shows.
I'm
some
doing
days.
everything wrong
You know?
according to TikTok,
Wow.
and then I'm bookmarking all these things. And as someone who has ADHD, I'm never following up on
Oh,
my
yeah.
bookmarks. But I'm like, ooh, that's the way I have
And
to
TikTok is
wash
always
a
like, you gotta
vegetable.
cook this way and do
Yeah.
this thing and cleaning hack. It's like, so it's for me, it's just like, well, yeah, as soon as you have a smartphone cultural economy, movie stars are obsolete because what you have to be now is a smartphone star, and that is a different kind of stardom. There was a moment in world history in which the dominant art form was opera. People went on weeknights and weekends to go see opera. There were opera stars. Opera was it. That is no longer the case. Opera's not big anymore, but it still exists.
Right.
Same way with jazz. Jazz used to be the dominant art form in America. It was everywhere. There were jazz stars. Jazz still exists, but it's studied in colleges and old guys like it now, right?
Right.
I wonder if movies, theater, in the theater movies are going down that same path. We'll never not have movies,
Right.
but they will no longer be the dominant art form in American
Well,
culture.
this idea.
Well,
this
now we have also like one of our last standing, we would consider movie stars, Angelina Jolie, playing an opera singer in a movie
that no
that
one
nobody
watched.
saw. That
no
nobody
one
saw.
watched.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Well-
these forms just become more obsolete culturally.
and this is what I always come back to.
Mhm.
We want entertainment,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's important to remember. Like, oh, Hollywood's dying, the streamers are wrecking everything. It's very easy to say all these things, but the one thing that's not going away is people want to find their new show, right?
Yes.
And when I watched Running Point, that new show on Netflix with Kate Hudson,
Is it good?
Here's what I'll say: watching Kate Hudson in that,
She's
I'm
great.
like,
Love her.
wow, I miss a
That.
leading actress who can do
Yes.
fucking comedy.
Yes.
Right? And
Yes.
that was like, and that's the moment where you're like, because I think we have been force fed a different people being forced into rom-coms that aren't as good as Meg Ryan, aren't as good as Julia
Yes.
Roberts, right?
Yes.
And even watching that movie with Reese Witherspoon and Will Ferrell
You
that
watched
came
it?
out. Oh, I watch it. I watch
Okay.
them all. I'm gonna watch
All
it all.
right.
Like, you know, like she's great.
Oh, yeah.
And she can do comedy. Like,
Yes.
we want these things. We get excited about them, whether you're getting excited about Yellowstone or, you know, whatever your thing is, we still find joy in discovery.
Yes. But what we cannot accept as individual consumers is that as much as we pretend that we like the on-demand of all culture and all screens at this point in our evolution, what we really want and what we want someone to give us is monoculture. We'll never ask for it again,
Right.
but intrinsically, we want gatekeepers to force feed us the good things
I completely
in
agree.
a segmented and scheduled manner.
I think there's an element of passivity that's really nice, to be honest.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
because
When I was a kid, I was just told what to watch. You're watching Fresh Prince tonight. You're watching Moesha that night. You're watching
By the way,
Seinfeld and Friends
sometimes
that
you're
night.
not even you don't even have a choice in it. You're like, I'm gonna
This
turn
is
on
it.
the TV,
And
and
that's
this
it.
is it. It's like we have to get back to that hotel TV mentality.
It's like, it's on.
It's on.
I'm watching Cheaters
yeah,
now.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
yeah, because you're right. Like, I think the centrality of feeling like we should be the ones navigating, deciding,
No.
controlling. It's
No.
thrown off
I'm
all
not
the
the
balance,
expert.
like
Yeah.
disastrously. I mean, this is why one of the things I will always rail on is that, and Paul hates it when I get on this topic, is that buying movie tickets online and choosing your seats has destroyed the movie going experience for
Why?
exactly this reason. Because picture this:
Yes.
we used to go to the movies with our friends.
Yes.
We get dropped off. We get in line. We get to get tickets. We'd be like, oh, we should get there a little early to get seats
Mm-hmm.
together. Oh no, our movie's sold out. And you know what? We
We'll
would
go see
go
another
see
one.
something else because the
Yeah.
idea was you wanted to go to
be
the
there.
movies.
Yes.
Not that I had to go to this movie at this time and sit in
In
this
my
particular
seats.
seat in my seat. And
Yeah.
if I don't get my seat, I'm going to cry about it.
I get
We
that.
used to feel a little more
We used to have a country.
gratitude.
Well,
And I
we
feel
used
bad
to have a
like we used to
country.
be grateful for the slop. I'm not trying to say
Listen,
that.
no, it's true.
But you know, we used to
It's
have this
true.
relationship that felt more
Yeah.
symbiotic and
Yeah.
not more like
Yeah.
we must have it our way or else.
Yeah.
But this is what I will argue, and I agree with you. Ultimately, like, we still are going to get our Taylor Swift tickets. We're still going to see our comedy shows. And you're right. Like, we're leaving the house less, so we're going out. We're seeing more. We are more connected in a weird way, right? I also think that movie stars, it's a dangerous business because now
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to be a movie star. You also have to be a good person.
Mm.
And I think that this is a very important part to add to this discussion. I know late to add it, but it's worth
Say it.
mentioning, which is you're not just judged on how good your movie is. It's like,
Everything
are
you ever done online is up for grabs.
100%. And we saw it right now with Carla Gascon, right?
Yeah.
With Amelia Perez. That was that.
Also, Netflix, you had no Spanish speakers.
I mean, come on.
I mean,
but that's this thing. It's like, and I'm not saying that was fine and we shouldn't be upset about that, but everything is also viewed in this other thing. It's like we're looking at everybody as a whole.
We require virtue of these stars now.
Exactly. And that was not a thing, right? Like we didn't know what
I didn't know what their politics were.
Right. We never knew. And then you have people like Kevin Hart, who I think is very, and The Rock, this year was like, I'm not getting behind anybody, because you realize people, like he was.
Also, girl, we know you're a Republican. It's fine.
But also, it's also like, you're like, you know what, man? It was Black Adam and Jungle Cruise that people weren't rejecting you. They were rejecting those movies.
Bad movies.
Yeah, if those movies were great, they would not be rejecting you.
Yeah.
But you know what you're saying? You're agreeing with me then, because I said the breaking point was Tom Cruise getting canceled for jumping on Oprah's couch.
Mm-hmm.
That is the moment where we suddenly were canceling people for their world outside of what was happening on screen. We brought down the biggest mammoth that existed on the field.
I think that what we all are like, we've given ourselves too much power. I think you're right. Like, we want somebody else to dictate what it is. And I think we're open to that. Like, we are open to Instagram ads that tell you, hey, I heard you talking about your bad back. Here's a bunch of things for your bad back. Oh, hey,
I buy the
Instagram
like clothes. I do it.
Oh,
I buy
100%.
Yeah.
I buy stuff for my camera all the time. Did you say a YouTube thing? If you like this, you'll like this. And you go on these wormholes. And I know that people are very upset about, like, oh, my phone's listening to me. Sometimes I don't mind it, because I'm getting to actually find
want someone to listen to me.
Yeah, like, find some stuff.
My friends don't listen to me. At least my phone does.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
But what you're saying is, like, we call these people stars, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean about us? It means they're up there and they're on the ground.
And we don't like that
We don't like
anymore.
that
Well, and this is
anymore.
also what has changed. And so this is explained much more thoughtfully than I can do it in Emily Nussbaum's new book, Cue the Sun.
Oh, yeah.
About the history of reality
It's a great
TV.
book.
And she says what happened with social media that no one expected is that it changed celebrity from you are a celebrity or you're not to everyone exists on a plane of celebrity. And some are more and some are less, but we all exist within the continuum of celebrity. And if you have one viral TikTok for a while, you can be a celebrity.
Well, then let me say this, because I've always had a theory about this, and you're talking about Tom Cruise jumping on the couch. I may even go one step further than that and go, I think that the end of movie stars, Hannah Montana. Because Hannah Montana...
You leave Miley out of this. She does no wrong. Now, she's a star.
Well, here's the thing.
She's a star.
She's a star. But here's the thing. It started to embed in kids' minds.
You can be a personality, too.
Yep. And I think that, like, so now what we are meeting are two different types of cultures, right?
Yes.
Like, my kids are coming into it going, like, their favorite person is this guy who goes around and, like, tortures soccer players that they love. It like, ISO Speed, right? They're watching his videos every day. Like, they're not, like, worried about, like, who, like, they came watch Academy Awards with us, and they were like,
who are these people?
They don't know any of these people, right? They know Jack Black, they know, because he's Kung Fu Panda, like, but I do think that there's a mentality that started. I can be famous. I should be famous. I remember talking to a young kid 15 years ago, and this sounds like it's bull because I'm just not measured, but it was like, and I was like, what do you want to be? And she's like, I want to be famous.
Yeah.
Not I want to be a singer, not I want to be a dancer. I want to be famous.
I have a good friend. She has small kids, and I want to say the 7 or 8 year old. He and his friends in their free time, like after school, they make YouTube videos, and they like pretend stuff to make it up, and they even act out commercial breaks. They make fake commercials.
My son loves the commercial break because they're so rare.
Yeah.
If you watch the Maryland Food Boys, Maryland Food Boys, 4 kids sitting around, 4 boys are like, what'd you get for lunch today? It's like, I got the pizza. Oh yeah, I like this pizza. I like the pizza. They got, like, they're blowing up online.
That's insane.
And I did a thing this year that I thought was kind of fun, which was we do trunk or treat for my school, or every, and I set up a red carpet for them to walk down.
I bet they loved it.
That was everyone wanted to get their picture on the red carpet.
Gradations of celebrity. Nussbaum called it. We have had this thorough, invigorating, Tom Cruise-filled conversation that I feel very passionate about. I could argue about whether or not movie stars exist for the rest of my life, but there will be someone listening to this chat who says, why does this matter? Why should I care? Serious question. What does the culture, capital C, lose if we no longer have movie stars in the classical sense?
I think we lose, I would say, signposts, guideposts, like people who have the ability to get a story made that we really do want to see, right? Yeah. Like the people who, I don't know, I think there's something in feeling like we do belong to a massive culture,
Yes.
right? That we can share.
Yes.
You know, where if I say to you, Meryl Streep, we can all picture the
I get
same
it.
face. I mean,
Yeah.
they were picturing in a bunch of different costumes because
Yeah.
she is a chameleon.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, I've been so happy when like Taylor Swift circled back around because it did feel like there was finally somebody again who united us. Because if we look at the world of music as an example,
Yeah.
when we were coming up, there were giant stars. Like everybody knew who Bruce Springsteen was, even though to
Yeah.
me I was like, I guess, I don't
Yeah.
know. And then music disappeared and didn't have a monoculture of stars.
I think the last star that everyone knew was Britney Spears.
Yeah. And then when it surfaced back up again, hasn't
Yeah.
it been nice
It's been so nice.
to feel like, oh,
Or
there's
even
a song
that
that
summer
we
of
can all
Beyonce,
hum.
when everyone went
It's
to that goddamn
uniting.
tour and I spent way too much money. We all were doing the thing together.
Isn't
and
that
felt
beautiful?
good. Yeah.
And I do feel like a star. We're all underneath a blanket of stars.
Q City of Stars. So, same question to you. Why does this matter?
I'm gonna bring it out here and hopefully land a good point, which is I see this happening in sports as well, right? We are focusing on the old guard, right? When people talk about, they talk about.
I still see David Beckham in commercials.
Right.
Let him rest.
100%. And then you talk about the NBA, right? You talk about like Steph and LeBron, amazing, transformational players. with
LeBron
nothing
is
bad to say.
AARP, though. Let him go.
Oh, exactly, right. But what about Anthony Edwards? This face, this young
is
face,
that?
fun.
Don't even know.
Right? And so he's like this exciting guy, and I think that what
He's in a movie on Netflix, and I'm not kidding. And he's very good
he's
in
very
it.
good at it, yeah.
All right.
And I think that like there is this thing where if movie stars, sports stars, music stars, they give us, so you're saying, not even a guidepost, but the idea of like, I want to achieve that. And I think what we have lost is I want to achieve that more like I can achieve that. It doesn't seem
Yeah.
special anymore.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that like there is no difference. Like because it's so everything is so niche, it's like, well, yeah, I don't know who that person is, so they're not important to me. But a movie star, even if you didn't like their movies, they were held on a higher level. And you're like, oh, I want to act like that. And like I saw Timothée Chalamet give that speech about I want to be one of the greats.
Yeah.
But that was actually a very interesting speech because it's not saying like I want to embrace celebrities. Like I want to be a great at what I do. Craft. And I think that if you look at his career, I think that Timothée Chalamet has built a very interesting career.
Let's
Like,
just don't mention Wonka.
oh yeah, 100%, right? But he's built a career where he's like trying different things. He'll make a popcorn movie. So I just think that like where I feel like we had respected people and we wanted to be like them, and now, you know, even the way that people talk about celebrities, you know, there's all these TikToks ripping apart Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. There's all these, you know, you have like Stephen A. Smith getting yelled at by LeBron James because he's ripping on his son, right? Like there's a disrespect culturally for anybody and what they do because we all feel like we're equal.
I agree.
The
And that-
elites, destroying the elites.
You know? You're in charge of Hollywood, and your mandate is in 5 years, I want you to have made me 3 bankable, big, cultural juggernaut movie stars. How do you do it?
I'm going to jump in quickly because Amy will have a better answer than me. And I'll say this. We lean into the spiritual. We lean into the idea of you have to, yes, the product is important, but how you get that product is going to be even better. You have to figure out what are those one-time only experiences. You know, I've seen a lot of the times you go to a movie theater, you can watch an opera like that's being simulcast from, you know, somewhere else. Like, can we do something where you make the movie theater like a church? Before it used to be like a church you'd show up to and it would run. But now you have to find ways to make it different. A lot of energy has to be put into the why do I have to be there?
Yes.
What am I missing out? You have to create FOMO. And that's something that we didn't have because if you missed that movie,
You
you'd have
missed
to-
it.
You missed it, and you'd have to wait a year until it came
Literally.
out, like on DVD or video. Then you have to wait another year before it came out, or you know, roughly to get on cable.
Exactly.
And then another year before TV. So
Yes.
it's like these are like, but that wait, that want. It's the same thing about Lost. You know, waiting week
Yeah,
after week.
there's no more FOMO.
How do we create? Yeah,
We're
we
a
have to create
post-FOMO culture. I like that.
So
Create
that's
FOMO.
what I would do for
Okay.
an executive. Create
All right.
FOMO.
You're in charge of Hollywood. Your mandate is to make 3 big movie stars in 5 years. What do you do?
Yeah, I think I'd actually steal a lot of that. Like, I would look
Okay.
at who's really interesting right now, and I would
Yeah.
pick like a Jenna Ortega. You know,
Yeah.
somebody that I think is so talented, so young,
Yeah.
lots of potential, really interesting choices.
Yeah.
And I'd say she's gonna do 6 movies in the next 3 years. None of them will ever be streaming, right?
Okay. I
You
like
gotta
that.
go see them, and they're all gonna be interesting premises, and maybe there'll be a mix. Maybe one will be an action film, maybe one will be a romantic comedy, maybe 2 or 3 will be a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I think we should be making our movie stars highlight the fact that they are human beings and people and
Mhm.
funny and interesting and
Mhm.
charismatic, but make those kind of roles for them,
Okay.
make them good, and say, you gotta come, man.
Yeah.
It'll be great. And if you need a Jenna Ortega popcorn bucket, then for the love of God, sell a
Do
Jenna
it.
Ortega popcorn
Yes.
bucket.
But by the way, are you
But make
talking?
it feel special, and you either did it or you didn't do it.
There
Are you
go.
talking about in a way
Yeah.
bringing back the studio system?
I actually think it would be.
You know what?
I
It
actually-
worked.
not a
By the
bad
way,
idea.
It worked.
I have been a big believer in this. I'm like, let me
Yeah.
work for.
Listen,
Like, yeah.
I
Yeah.
want that.
I
you know?
do too.
If I were in charge of Hollywood and my mandate was to create a new movie star, I would say, look at the artist who so far this year has had a #1 album, #1 movie, and #1 single. Who is that person? Push them even harder. You know who it is?
Who?
SZA.
Oh.
SZA has the #1 song in the country right now. Her movie One of Them Days was #1 at the
Love
box
that movie.
office.
She's so
Amazing
good in
movie.
it.
And her album re-release was #1 for a few weeks. You have right now all you need to make some of these juggernaut music stars movie stars. Given the right circumstances and support, SZA can act.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
can.
Make a movie
She's
star.
real funny.
And I bet you know what you could do? Put Kendrick in a fucking movie. Put him in a movie. Why not? People love him. People know him. I think that there is this weird distance between movies and music right now, and those lines should be blurred. I
Well-
think a lot of these really charismatic pop stars could be charismatic film stars.
Well, then let's cut out what you go back to your first question too. Then it's not about what's the new term. It's just stars.
stars.
Who are our
Who
stars?
are the stars?
And who are the people that are untouchable? And I believe like one of the things that I could really point to with Taylor Swift and Beyonce
Mhm.
is they're pretty untouchable.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like they keep their shit on lock.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've forgotten what Beyonce's speaking voice sounds like.
Oh,
She doesn't
100%.
talk.
Right.
She doesn't talk.
No.
You know? There's a rarity.
Right. And like,
Exactly.
I even thought it was so cool, like when when she was stumping for Harris Walls, like
Yeah.
everyone was like, "Well, she's gonna sing." She's like, "I'm not."
I'm not singing.
And by the way, and the way that people talked about her not singing was actually
Exactly.
even more attention getting than if she
Yes.
sang. And I think
Yes.
that there's like a power there, and it's like, and I think what we also are embracing is. We all have the ability to create our own narratives. We can get anything out. And that's
Mhm.
why I think as somebody who acts and writes and directs and all this sort of stuff is like I can always work. If I'm waiting for somebody to give me a job,
Yeah.
it will drive me nuts. But if I can always do it and just make good shit. And good
Yes.
shit gets
Yeah.
people interested. Like Stranger Things should not have been the cultural juggernaut it was. Game of Thrones should not have been that. These are niche sci-fi
Exactly.
shows.
Exactly.
But everyone rallied behind them. And the mistake that we made was making
More of
dupes
those.
of those instead of just going, let's give unique voices
Exactly.
a chance to raise
Yeah.
up. And I think that's
Yeah.
what we need to kind of do and find unique voices like SZA, like these
SZA.
things, do these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while I'm at it, you know who else is right there? And everyone loves him? Post Malone.
Oh, Post
We
Malone.
like Post Malone.
I
Put
just
him in
saw-
movies.
Post Malone
Put him
did
in
great
movies.
as Kurt Cobain on that SNL 50, and he also did. He was in that Jennifer Lopez movie. This is
Yeah.
Me Now as one of the gods.
Post
Oh, yeah,
Malone
he
and
was
SZA.
good in that.
Wait, I fixed it. Post Malone and SZA in either a rom-com or like a buddy cop comedy.
I would go.
Done.
I would go.
And let me
Fixed it for you,
let me-
Hollywood. You're welcome.
And can I just say one other thing about it though?
Yes.
Is the biggest problem that we have though that the cycle that we've built
Mhm.
of building somebody up and tearing them down. It's
Mhm.
always existed.
Yeah.
And then they go back up and we're excited again.
Mhm.
Have we gotten that process so small that now can anyone ever be on top before we want to rip them down? Because I think that like we all, and I think this idea of like, how do you keep a star from having that fall? Because someone will find that one thing
Oh,
and
yeah.
they will break you down.
Yeah.
It's better in this world to be a 7 than a 10. Like as far as popularity, because a 7 is safe. A 10, it's like,
Well, yeah.
we're gonna find
Totally.
a tweet, we're gonna find a thing.
And when you think of these stars that are untouchable, the Taylors and the Beyoncés, they knew when they were 12 what they wanted, and they built their whole life towards that. So there were no slip ups.
Yeah.
And it's like, unless you do it that way, it's really hard.
Yeah.
All this to say, the fix is SZA
SZA.
and Post Malone.
All right.
What is the
He already
what
has
is
an
their
Oreo.
movie called?
Post Malone has an Oreo already.
Right.
Like, so he's got
He's
food.
got it.
He's got food ties.
What's the premise of that movie as we close?
I want a rom-com, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I feel like rom-coms is where we fall in love with people. You watch
Yeah.
somebody on a screen falling in love with someone and getting
you
fall
fall in
in
love with
love
them.
at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I will love Meg Ryan until I die.
Yeah.
You know, I will love Tom Hanks till I
Yeah.
die. I will love Billy Crystal till I die.
Yeah.
Because I was invited to be in love with them. Not they like came and shot me down.
Well, then I'm going to
I
pitch
loved them.
a remake of The Bodyguard. So we lean into the IP, put it there, and there you go.
Who the hell is Post Malone protecting?
Well, reverse it. She's the bodyguard.
Yeah.
Oh, Scissor's the bodyguard.
Could go either way. Could
We
go
did
either
it.
way.
This is the perfect way to end this episode. Oh my God, thank you both so much. Tell folks again who you are, mention your podcast, and say where to find you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Amy Nicholson. I'm the film critic for the LA Times, and I'm the co-host of the podcast Unspooled, where every week we just talk about movies that catch our interest. We did first all the AFI greats, the top 100, and
Love
now
it.
we are following our own curiosity,
Yeah.
digging through everything, figuring
love
out
it.
what's interesting to talk about.
Yeah, I'm Paul Scheer, and you can listen to me on Unspooled, and you can watch The Dark Web, which is a show that I'm doing now, self-produced show that I'm doing online. So
I love
it's
it.
fun.
The Bodyguard remake is called Guard the Body.
Love that.
Yes! Somebody call me.
That's a good
Us.
one.
We
That was
did
it. We did it.
All right. Till next time, go watch some movie stars. See you next week. Bye.